Hey everyone, thank you for watching my channel. My name is Michelle and I am with Tumblers in the Making. All right, and so for today we're going to go ahead and do a black base on this tumbler. I will be doing the alcohol ink yet again. I can't help it, I'm starting to really like this. And I'll be using the color blue and yellow. So real quick, I want to go ahead and put in here a tip and trick that I learned. Now, most of us waste so much gloves, and we have an abundance in a package of 100 maybe, and we have to throw it away after we use the epoxy or glue. So what if we can reuse that glove? So what I did is that after I've already placed epoxy on a tumbler, I removed that glove with tweezers. Then I waited for it to dry. I put it somewhere where it's clean and just let it hang off somewhere. So then as soon as the epoxy dried on that glove, which I had to use the next day, I went ahead and placed it on my finger. I noticed that the epoxy wouldn't allow me to put my finger through the glove, so I had to cut that dry spot of the epoxy. So that worked out. I actually worked out. I feel that this is beneficial for everybody. I was able to use the other finger to apply epoxy. I do not recommend that you use this method for a final coat of epoxy, only because you're contaminating with dust particles or anything that might get on it. So I don't suggest to do it on a final coat, but I do suggest as a base coat when you're wiping or adding your epoxy onto either glitter or in cases like this where I'm just adding the epoxy onto the tumbler. All right, let's get started. All right, so everybody should know by now you should prep your cup. So you want to sand it down, make sure you get that glossy or that shine off of the cup. You want to wash it with Dawn soap. Then after the Dawn soap, I use a car absorbent cloth, and that helps wipe all the wetness or drops of water that's on the cup. It dries it up real fast. Then once it's dry, I let it wait for just a few more minutes to make sure it's fully dry. And then I go ahead and add my Rust-Oleum 2X matte black. So here I'm not too worried about how I spray painted my cup. I did not do a full coverage. I sprayed as much that I can cover because the alcohol inks are going to cover all that up. So I'm not really worried about it. So you guys don't have to do a perfect coverage. Now here you notice the bubbles. I'm not too worried about it. Once the alcohol inks hits this, it will kind of pop those bubbles. Not all of it, but most of it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start placing the inks on the cup. I am using the same color for the yellow, and unfortunately I cannot remember the name of this ink at the moment, but I will have it on my description box in case you guys like the colors. You can purchase it. And then I'm putting down the navy. And the reason why I do a dark blue is because the white is going to go on top of it and it turns it a little lighter on the color. And I swear to goodness, I could not see where I've placed these colors on this tumbler because the base is black. So I just went crazy with the white, hoping it would land on those colors. So then here I'm just adding the yellow in the middle of my whites. And you guys don't forget to get the bottom of your rim or the bottom of your cup. And here I go crazy with the inks. I want to make it rich in colors. And I also poured some white on the rim so it'll fall down onto the bottom of the cup. Adding some more whites because I want to make sure, because I know there's other colors on this tumbler that the whites have not touched yet. And it looks good. So far it looks good. Oh, and I used a different color here. It's like a mango because I wanted a little bit of orange to kind of brighten up that yellow. And eventually I kind of noticed it looked like egg, like a yolk. So I had to separate that eventually. All right, so I'm gonna wait to see if it'll move, and it did. It was moving just the way I like it. Then I stopped it, turned it on, stopped it, turned it on. And it was moving. I couldn't see too much movement, but it was actually moving. So you guys might not see it at that moment, but it is moving. All right, so I'm applying a little bit of heat to get it going. I don't think I wanted any more inks on this tumbler. I think it was just fine just the way it is. I wanted some black to show through. Added some heat. And you guys might end up getting some fish eyes, some dips, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, you're gonna epoxy over it, and it's gonna look fantastic, like there was never a problem. Now you guys keep in mind that you don't want to burn your epoxy when you place heat onto alcohol inks like this, or even if you have glitter on there, you don't want to burn your epoxy because it's just gonna make it smell so bad. It's gonna bubble up. It's gonna look pretty bad, really bad. Just give it a little bit of heat, get it going, get it moving around. Also, if you guys want to try something a little different, you guys can add a little bit, like have a little spray bottle that you use in like for cosmetics or traveling. I believe it's in the traveling section. You place 91% alcohol in it and sprit onto the tumbler, and then you'll get these little fish eyes, extra little, I guess, bubbles. It's not really bubbles, it's just fish eyes that come along with it. Now here I added a little bit more epoxy. I forgot to let you guys know that the amount of epoxy that I placed on here in the first place was about 15 mLs. I did not do a full 20. So I wanted these to move a little bit more. Even though it's coming out great, it looks fantastic, I needed to add that little extra movement. And honestly, I think this is better to do if you add that extra epoxy on it, because it separated it and gave it some dimension. You're about to see what I mean. There you go. You're starting to see the separation, the movement. That's what I wanted. There we go. It's melting. Like it's literally melting everywhere. Now you see me pushing it in, but it's quick bursts of air around it. Look, it's starting to slide off, and that was one of the best things I've done, was to let it melt, because it made it that much better. It looks like a glob now, but trust me, it was the best thing for me to do, is to let it melt like butter. All right, so I'm going to add more inks. I want it to kind of give it that extra push of color, and I'm going to add some whites on here also to separate some of that. But I like this movement, and I'm going to add some black to this as well, because I don't feel that it's giving me the shape that I want for the blacks. Here I'm just trying to give it a tiny bit of heat to kind of push it. Now I recommend that if you guys want some up and downs, kind of, you know, a shape of a sky, use a blow dryer. It pushes it. Or you can lift it off the turner and do it at an angle. And I'm going to be doing that because I feel like it needs to have movement. And it has movement. It has plenty of movement. But it's straight. So I need to curve those inks. And it's doing exactly what I needed to do. I needed to go up and down. And I have too much side to side, so I need up and downs. So my next thought in this is that I need to separate some of these colors. I like the way it's looking right now, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm going to use my coffee stir stick to kind of give it that movement. coffee stir sticks for everybody. I mean, you guys got to try that on your inks. It really gives it movement. It actually gives it that dimension, that extra little push of dimension. And now the epoxy at this point is pretty dry. It's not dry, just a little thicker. And then so those lines are going to close in together. There's what I was looking for right there. That's what I wanted. So if you guys, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I like doing S's. So that's what I did here. And then I moved it up, and I moved the turn. I took it off the turner and I moved it upwards at an angle. That works perfectly. Look how pretty that looks. That looks so good. Now I can see a little too much on that area there. And I notice that certain spots are not closing as well as I would like it to be. So I'm mixing it in there. That worked out great too. If you guys want to use that kind of like a stir in motion on your inks, that'll work. All right, so we're coming to a close and the results to this is phenomenal. Now remember, once you leave it on the turner overnight, it's still shifting your colors and your inks. Place your epoxy on top and that's about it. There you have it. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and be up to date for more future videos.